Welcome to the Hunter Letson podcast. I'm your host, Hunter Letson, and tonight I'm joined by my main man, Jared King. Jared, how's it going?
It's going great, man. How about you?
Well, ready to get this started. How's it feel to be on episode 1 of the world's most okayest podcast?
Yes, that's fantastic. By the way, I am honored, actually, extremely.
Yeah, so this is a little different than probably any other podcast I'm ever going to do because I don't know what's about to happen because you're interviewing me.
I love this idea. I can't tell you how much that I think that this is a fantastic idea. And you know what? In full disclosure here, behind the curtain, I found out about this 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, you don't know anything about what's going on.
No.
Neither of my 2 projects that are in the works. So
it's fantastic.
Well, what's your first question?
Well, what's your thought behind, why do you want to do this, first of all?
Because there's so many stories out there that just need to be captured and told and just passed down. And I don't know if that's being done, and I want to be a part of that and make sure that gets done.
So in that vein of things, because everyone loves a good story. First of all, everyone. Do you feel like that maybe in this case, and I'm going to lead you here, but maybe in this case, I hear a lot of stories, but there's so many people that aren't willing to do this format. And that's what you're wanting to pull them into this format of saying, I need your story. Come on here and tell it.
Yeah. And I think I have a lot of people that are on board that I think will get other people on board. And we're talking super local starting out. But, I was in the Navy and I got friends everywhere. And I'm really hoping, do a podcast with someone in South Carolina. Their friends hear it, and then they got stories.
Now, when you say story, do you mean, there's so broad.
Okay. Yeah. So the podcast you're listening to now, this is going to be the catch-all podcast. I want to talk about jobs, businesses, your job. Probably 99% of the people have no idea it exists. And I think it's really fascinating. Conspiracies, politics, whatever. This podcast is going to be the catch-all. So
it's an open book.
Yeah. No subject, no set, anything. A couple podcasts I do want to go in and maybe have a series on certain topics that I'm not really ready to reveal yet, but it's going to be just really whatever comes along and whatever I find interesting and think needs to be put on the internet for other people to hear.
So you want a podcast, you want to start a podcast. This is the baseline of podcasting for you. This is like, hey, if I want to do a podcast and I'm not sure where it fits here.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, so you have 2 podcasts you're going to do. What is this other one that you're starting, or you're what's the launch on it?
Okay, the other one we're working on, it's called Beyond the Moonlight. It's about season 1 is called Hometown. It's going to be me collecting ghost stories from my hometown.
And we got to hear, what's the hometown? What hometown are we talking about here?
Well, we got a couple, so we're just going to leave it at that.
Okay.
No, so it's going to be a 10-episode season. We'll release 5 at a time, a couple weeks in between, so you can kind of binge, but you're not going to get the whole thing at once. And these stories I'm not putting any input on them. It's the stories told by the people that had the experiences. And I'm not looking for, my granddad said in 1842, these are actual things people have experienced or perceived to experience. No commentary. There's no, there may be some discussion, but I'm not there to judge. I'm not there to find out what's real, what's fake. I'm just capturing stories and putting them out for people to hear.
Firsthand experience.
Yeah.
I got you. So we don't. So if you hear this and you're like, oh, I got one. Let me tell you about this time I heard this one time. No, where were you? Were you there?
No. So I still want those people to contact me.
I got you.
So season 1 is just, it's hometown stories. I've got a couple ideas bounced around, but I want legends. I want folklore. I want the haunted house at the end of the street that everyone always heard about. Because that stuff's just interesting to me.
Oh, yeah. And to everyone else. Listen, you just do any podcast there is out there, well, the main ones is we are, the Bigfoot. It's always going to be your biggest podcast. It's going to be the one you listen to, has the most listened to, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, and I think people are just into that stuff because they don't know. It's something you've always heard about, and you don't know what's real. And I guess in the back of your mind, you kind of want some of that to be real.
You do.
Now, another thing that I've always found interesting, especially since my time in the Navy, is how, okay, so kind of paint the scene here. We're on a ship out to sea in the middle of wherever. You're on like knot 46 and there's nothing to do other than watch the water and sit around. It always goes back to ghost stories or like, your local legends. And it's wild how often they're similar. And I kind of want to chase that down maybe a little to what's really going on here. Is this like a shared phenomenon, or is it just, I don't know, Jimmy heard this story back in the day and moved to this town and passed it to his kids?
Or is it just, hey, this is just what we intrinsically do when we are asked these questions? This is just the vein that we go through. Is that how that works? I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. And how much of it is, oh man, he's got a ghost story. Let me see what I can make up real quick.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that's the project. That's more of a passion project. And this is just kind of more fun.
Right. Well, I'll be honest with you. Podcasting is fun when you're just starting out too. So, finding that vein of getting that going. I mean, heck, I've tried to do this so much, and I still don't know what I would like mine to be about. So I'm very encouraged by yours. So I will want to ask a couple other questions if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
So you mentioned being in the Navy. How many years were you in the Navy?
Almost 6.
Almost 6 years. Okay. By the way, there are some fascinating stories that you've told me. I don't know that you can tell them on the podcast, but there are some fascinating stories that you've told me in that vein of Beyond the Moonlight that I think would catch some serious ground.
Maybe a little spoiler alert here for season 2, but it's going to be military based.
Oh, you know what? Count me in.
Yeah. I wasn't really planning on putting that out, but the plan for season 2 was actually aliens. I've told you.
Oh yeah.
So, we're not gonna.
Right. Oh, hey, here, but, hey, you know what? This ain't a spoiler. This is a teaser.
Yeah, it's going to happen. So actually, season 2 will be the military themed.
Okay.
And if you're in any other branch other than the Navy, bear with me. It's what I know. I know the most people. But hey, that's a good PSA here. I'm looking for someone that encountered either in Vietnam or Afghanistan one of the giant people.
Oh,
I don't know if you
biblical Nephilim.
Yeah.
Oh, the Nephilim. Yeah. Man, there's so much out there about this now. This is it's very intriguing. And I'll be honest with you, if you get firsthand stories of this, it's going to be
well. I have
huge.
One guy, but he doesn't want to talk about it. And this is me bullying him right now.
Yes. But, I don't know who you are, but I'm bullying you too. Do it.
Not going to put his name out. Another thing I think would be cool for short stories that couldn't fill a whole episode. Like, hey, I was walking down the hall. I saw a ghost. I wasn't drunk. I know it was a ghost.
Right.
I still want to hear that. And I want to do like maybe a shorts or, I'm not set on anything yet, but I want every story to be collected, cataloged, put out there for everyone.
And as you go, you'll figure out how that works best for this whole deal and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and that's why I'm not putting limits on this podcast. And for Beyond the Moonlight, we're going to do a season at a time. And that may change into something totally different. That may change into weekly people actually coming on, and maybe we go live on YouTube. That's things we've tossed around. But we'll kind of got some parameters set, but nothing's right. Forever.
Well, and with your history, even let's just go back to the Catch-All podcast, even with your history, and you're involved in a lot of business stuff. You've done real estate. You're not, or you're doing real estate. it's kind of a weird time for real estate currently. But I say that to say, you've held quite a lot of things, positions of things, military, and so you have a unique perspective of business, I would say. You also are one of, and I mean this in an endearing way, I really do, one of the most unique people that I know. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, you're just so unique. If I mention Hunter Letson to anyone that I know, they're like, oh yeah, I know Hunter. There's nobody like Hunter, which is a good thing. This is not a bad thing. It's just that you have a unique take on things. I think it's going to make for a better podcast with your take.
So I almost feel like, I grew up watching wrestling, and I almost feel like, The Rock was not the same when he started in 96 to now. I don't know if he's back, but
he's back in wrestling.
Oh yeah, he's back. He's so WrestleMania is 2 days now. He's main eventing not one, him and Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. So now we got to make sure this gets out before that match. But yeah, so I almost feel like I've gone through character changes, much like a wrestler, because the Navy me is not who I am now.
Right.
And that's just because there's an edge there. You kind of have to lose, or you can't operate that way outside of the military. And who I was in high school is not who I am now. We may go over some of those.
Yeah, I can't wait till we tell some of those. Because I've known you a long time. We got a little history.
Yeah,
I've known
20 years almost.
Yeah,
going on it.
So I've known you in high school. Known you. Of course, you're in the military. It's very hard to keep contact. But you come back. We're lifelong friends here. So full disclosure there. So we've known each other a long time. I'm really excited. I'm really excited about this. I want to take the journey with you. So I'm excited.
I've got a lot going on in my head, and I feel like this is a good outlet. And as much as you want to say I'm unique and whatever, I've encountered as many people along the way that are far more unique and talented and just out there. That's what this show is going to be about.
Well, that's the fun part about it, right?
Yeah. Like, we're about to talk about bathtubs eventually, and I never thought, hey, I'm going to make a podcast. Okay, cool. What's the first episode? Oh, it's going to be about a bathtub.
Yeah.
And no time machines. Or maybe, I don't know.
Maybe I feel like that's what's happening with me. I don't know.
Well, let's get started on my question.
Sure, go ahead.
Do you believe time travel is possible?
I'm going to go with no.
Okay.
I'm going to go with no. Not that I don't think that it's not an intriguing subject. We can talk about Einstein and his theories of all that. I just don't see the possibility. You can't reconcile what's changed. If practically speaking, I'm not talking about spiritually or anything like that. I'm talking about just practically speaking. I don't know how you reconcile going back, the time that you lose going back, and then when you get to that space where you weren't there. Okay, let's say I time traveled 15 minutes ago, and I was there for 5 minutes. So I got a 5-minute gap that I wasn't here. Okay, now I live up through that 5 minutes. What does that look like?
Yeah, I don't know. Do you? And how do you get back? Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's something that's I can sit there and think about. But
I will say, one of the most fascinating shows that there is on time travel. I don't know if you ever watched this. It's a show called Dark on Netflix.
No, never seen it.
Okay, if time travel was real, I think it's the most real depiction of what it would look like. You can only travel in 33-year increments.
Oh, okay.
And it is fascinating. You need to watch Dark. If that's something that intrigues you, you have to watch Dark, actually.
So, there's theories that it's actually the year 1724. Have you heard about this?
No, but I'm dying to hear it.
Apparently in Rome, and I may be wrong on all this, we clearly have not prepared, but one of the emperors at one point, I guess, what would that be? 300 years before whatever they thought it was like, I want to be the emperor for the new millennium. And he changed the year from what did that be? 624 to 1000.
I see.
And I don't know. There's some evidence of like missing time is in, things we think that happened so long ago, carbon dated to actually whatever aligns with our timeline now, missing 300 years.
Listen, I can see, I see what you're saying. We're talking about the manipulation of dating.
Yeah,
I guess.
Which, I mean, the calendar has changed, and
so the second has changed. How long the second is, we've changed that before. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
We have changed. And listen, again, I'm not a scientist. Okay, I'm not a doctor, but
I'm not that kind of doctor.
Right, exactly. So I'm not saying, but we have changed the second before. Okay, so we have when you say you get an atomic clock and it checks in with a satellite to get the right time. Okay, now we all are set on the same second. Okay, the same amount of space in between the second, right? Clicking of seconds.
Yeah.
So we've changed that in the past, and we've all kind of like made it universal. We're all like on the same page globally, and there's actually people that want to change that again.
All it would take for all this to get messed up is like a long time ago, the one guy in charge of time just forgot.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
mean, you could go into
it's Wednesday or something.
I hear what you're saying. That's interesting to think about.
I don't know. That's kind of why I don't get, too caught up on birthdays and anniversaries and things like that, because it's just arbitrary.
It is. I will say, I'm celebrating 13 years coming up of being married, and
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. It's it was an unlucky anniversary. I don't know, 13. So I don't feel that way in my marriage. Let me be very clear.
There is zero chance she listens to this. So
yes, that's a good point.
We're good here.
Fantastic point. But I will say there's something to celebrating, maybe not your birthday, because I get that. I love the line, we should be celebrating your mother. You didn't do anything. Okay, if we're celebrating that birthday, let's celebrate your mom. She's the one that just struggled to have you, which is funny. But there's something commemorating, hey, we've made it through another year together. How do you feel about celebrating New Year? Do you do a New Year's resolution? Let me ask you that.
Okay, so this is very random. In probably maybe when I was 15 or 16, I heard an interview with Dirk Bentley, and they asked him that question, and he said, man, I don't know how he sounds, but my only goal is to have more fun this year than I did last year. And I went with that for a long time. But now having a child of my own, I just want to do what he wants to do and give him a better year than the year before.
Right. And that's, and listen, if you're any decent parent, you're thinking that as well.
I am decent. not much more.
But I'm pro the New Year change though. I'm pro the, hey, we got a new year. I want to lose weight or whatever that is for, all New Year's.
Yeah. Anything you can do if it stimulates a change for the better, I'm good with it.
And that's the thing about it. It's the whole connotation behind it. Could you do it in July? Sure.
Yeah, everybody starts a diet next Monday.
Yeah, it's what I'm doing.
That's what I've been doing for 20 years.
Anyway, rabbit hole. But yeah, I all of that's kind of in the same vein. So I get that. Have
you ever had an encounter with anything paranormal?
Oh man. I'm just gonna be honest here. Not that I can recall. Not that in the sense of I can't say that I have.
So when I ask this question of people, it's either, hey, tell me a story about your ghost spirit, whatever, insert whatever encounters. Sure, yeah. And the answer is either I've never, or it's which one. There's no in between.
That's interesting.
It's very rare that it's like one story.
That's I've never thought of that, but I guess I've the same way with me.
Yeah.
Why is that, Hunter?
Well, that's kind of why we're doing all this. I want to know answers, and not necessarily on what's real or what's not, but
just the vein of that.
Yeah, just the psychology, I guess, behind it.
Yeah.
It's just something I've always,
I mean, you got I'm in. I'm hook, line, and sinker. I want to hear it.
What about, I don't know if I want to go here. Your dad's a preacher.
Sure.
Your son of a preacher.
Yeah. Son of a preacher, man.
Okay. We're going to get canned for copyright there.
I don't think that sounded even close to what it was.
I think it was close enough. Well, I guess with that, having that in my mind, do you believe in aliens? 2, do you think there's room in the Bible and your beliefs for aliens?
Wow, this is a fantastic question. And wow, we're
hitting the hard ones real quick.
What a God, that's a whole ball of wax, right?
We don't have to go there if you don't want.
No, that's fine. I'm going to keep it as condensed as possible because I've thought about this a lot. Who hasn't thought about this? I will just say that anybody who just thinks about arbitrary things probably like this. Okay, let me just preface everything I'm about to say with this. And this is not a disclaimer. This is just the truth. I don't think it matters.
Oh,
I don't think it matters. Listen, if aliens are there, what does that change the day to day from what I'm doing today? I don't think it matters. Do I think that it changes anything that I believe? Absolutely not. It doesn't change anything I believe. It just means that what I personally believe, God just didn't feel the need to tell me. Okay. Do I think? I don't necessarily want to get in deep dive in my beliefs, but just say I do believe in God. So, I mean, I don't think that if he knows everything and he's all-knowing, he doesn't have to tell me if there's aliens or not. And he can have them on however many planets he wants to. I mean.
So I sit here and, like I said, I'm not going to comment either way.
Sure.
Just to keep things, I don't know. I don't want to take a side.
Right.
Just thinking biblically, why would he tell us?
That's what I'm saying.
Because what if they're so far away, we're never going to encounter them? I mean, I don't know. That's just where my mind goes first.
Yeah, and what if it's just part of his creation? I don't discount it. I mean, sure. Okay, now here's the other part of my answer. And this is probably where most of your, I'll call it evangelical people, would believe. And this is probably where I land. Everything that we've experienced probably up till now, I would say, and okay, that I know of. Disclaimer, because a lot of stuff I don't know. Okay. So everything that I would say that I know of.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that if the military's got some little gray man up in Area 51 or something. Okay. Now we got a different conversation. I just, you hear that. I don't know. I can't tell you the validity of that. Right. But I think that you have to think that that there is. Can you say that there's demons and there's aliens? I mean, is there going to be, because I would say if you say there's a little gray man, then I have to say there's both. I don't think that everything that you would encounter would be an alien. Okay. You're going to have demonic forces because you've already prefaced my beliefs. Yeah. I think you got to say that there's demonic forces that you deal with that are real and that are prevalent and that happen. And then if there is aliens, possibly they're a separate thing. I think that most things that we've got on record that I would say would be demonic or angelic. Okay, I'll say that too. Okay. I'm not going to say either way.
Which, if you go by biblical descriptions of angels,
terrifying.
Kind of scary.
Terrifying.
It's not a little cherub with a bow and arrow.
But, not all the time. If you look at it in Sodom, where they go to save Lot, we're talking Old Testament here. When we go to save Lot, the men are the people there are wanting after the angels that are apparently just showing up in human form. They're just there. They look like human beings. Then we also have these depictions of these terrifying creatures with eyes and wings and
spinning balls, and just wings, and
terrifying, really.
Well, I didn't really want to go down that route day one, but
sure.
So we're here. I always find it, fascinating that people, I don't mean this in like a derogatory way or like, look at me here with my stats knowledge, but it's just almost statistically impossible. There's not something else out there.
I'm sure.
And I've actually got someone wanting to come talk about that. So
I will be open. I will listen. I will listen. I will devour it like candy.
Well, do you have any more questions about this podcast?
Man, I am stoked about it, actually. I don't. And I'm just...
You and my mom.
You've really primed the pump here, and I'm excited. Nobody's going to... After this, nobody cares about my point of views on those things, but I can't wait to hear what other people say.
No, this episode's not on what a normal episode would be.
Sure, you're right, right.
I think it's good we did kind of get that in there, and maybe that will... someone, hey, I got a counterpoint to that. And
sure.
Maybe we'll get y'all on a debate.
Hey, you know what? I just love to talk, and that's a curse. I know. It's a curse.
Well, tell me what you do.
Well, that's for the past, we'll just talk about what I'm doing right now. For the past, going on 2 years, I service walk-in bathtubs.
I never knew this was a thing.
Yeah.
Explain what you mean by service.
So these tubs, they have a lifetime warranty.
Okay.
And I'll save the company so we can just talk about,
unless
what
they
I
want
do.
to sponsor.
Right. So they have if you buy one of these tubs, and they're primarily a handicap tub. I say handicap like elderly. Fall in the shower. It's a risk of falling.
Yeah, we've all seen the commercial.
Sure.
We've all wanted it. Don't lie.
So they come, most of them now come with a lifetime warranty. And, you call and say, such and such is wrong with my tub. I drive an unsightly amount to service these. I cover a large area doing this. Mississippi, the whole state, like Biloxi, all the way up to really Memphis and Tennessee, and all the way over to Augusta, Georgia. And I cover Alabama, Georgia, all the way down to Tallahassee, up into Chattanooga. That's my whole area. It's really large.
And I probably should say, if you've made it this far and you're wondering why do they sound like they're from the woods and why do they sound like they're from West Central Alabama, it's because we're from West Central Alabama.
Yes.
I think we have all our teeth.
We do.
I have all mine.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, we're somewhat normal people.
Yeah. We're not what you think when you hear, well, on Saturdays in the fall, we might be.
Maybe this is what you think you should hear.
Maybe it is.
Maybe it is. But that's what I do. I service these tubs, and it's interesting.
So what's a typical tub service call for? Like, what's the casualty there?
That's a loaded question. There are some common issues. I will say that some of them are very, they can go from as little as and it's usually user error here. But I say usually. Sometimes something happens that's very, very, very minute. That's maybe not user error, but like something needs to be adjusted. That's like as little as like a nut or a bolt that I go in and I adjust. They had a drain stopper that's supposed to work a certain way, and they're pretty complicated tubs, right? So yeah, it needs to be adjusted a certain way. The door is maybe a little tweaked, and you got to adjust it, make sure it's not leaking, and then it can go from just things happen. They happen in things that aren't walk-in bathtubs, like water leaks and pipe leaks.
So it's basically a normal bathtub, just a couple features for handicap, elderly.
You open the door, you walk into it.
Yeah. What's the most, I guess, memorable thing you've seen on a call? Let's get into that.
Oh, wow. There's so many. There are so many. I'll give this one. This is the one that comes to my mind. It was a dangerous situation. And I'm in a neighborhood where I have pulled up to a house, and listen, we have to call these people in advance. Most of them don't work. Most of them are like, I don't get up till 12 o'clock, so I don't want to get up early. And like, I'm having to drive 4.5 hours. I'm like, well, I got a lot of work to do. Like, I got to get there. We got to plan this whenever I can. It's beside the point. I'm over in rural Mississippi. Think as rural as possible. Okay. Small town. I call the guy a day in advance. I'm going to be there between 2 and 4 o'clock.
Oh,
sounds
so
great.
You cable manned him.
Well, I have to.
No, I know.
It's too far to drive, right? And I usually say, I'll call you 30 minutes out to give you a definite window. Because I don't know how long the call before me is going to last and all that. So, cable man, I like it. So,
you don't know how long the KFC line's going to be.
Yeah, it's exactly right. Popeyes. So, I get there at 2:00. I call him and he's like, I'll be there. I'm getting off work. I'll be there in a little bit. I look at the lady across the street from his house because I just knocked on his door and I called him on his front porch. I say, I'm going to run get some supplies. I actually need some paper towels. I'm going to run to the store, grab some supplies, paper towels. I didn't tell her. I just said supplies. She don't need to know. And I come back, and in my mind, I look back down the street because this is not in a good part of town either. Let me just be very clear. Very bad part of town. I park my van, and when I go back to my van, I look around the neighborhood. I see where cars are, and I thought, I'm not going to come back unless I see a different vehicle here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
His vehicle come back. So I go, I get my supplies, I take my car, and I'm driving around, and I thought, he told me he's going to be there in like 30 minutes. So somebody just driving around looking at the little small town. They got a little baseball field or whatever. I'm just kind of looking around. Some time to kill, not too long. I pass by the house, by the street. And I see people out on the front porch, okay, and out in the front yard. And I look down, no new vehicles, not one. I keep driving. Didn't think nothing about it. I come back at the time he said he was going to be there. I pull up. I see people standing. I see her, and I said, hey, I'm not doing anything. Because I see people, I want to know that I'm not doing anything. Hey, I want y'all to know, I'm just waiting on him to come home so I can service his bathroom tub. Okay. And I see a guy getting out, and he stands up. And I'm like, he says, come on. And I said, okay. And I said, oh, you're the owner. I said, hey, I didn't know. I had no idea. And there's a dog barking. He said, you see that? You hear that dog? And I was like, yeah. He said, you afraid of that dog? I said, no, not really. He said, you need to. That dog will kill you. Okay. And I was like, understood.
Did they put it up?
No. Oh. And I was like, okay. And I was like, all right, well, let me get my stuff here. And he says, why did you pass the road? And I said, well, I was seeing, he cuts me off and he's screaming at me at this point.
Oh, no.
Straight to 10. You don't want to work. And he starts screaming at me, pointing me. He's pacing back and forth. Guy, when my van's parked, I'm pointed straight at him. To my right, somebody walks out of their house and they're coming up towards the van. They go back and sit on their front porch. He is screaming and he's saying, you get your back in that van or you can, and he's screaming like, I will blank, he's screaming at me. He said, I'm going to call a cut around. I said, hey, feel free. Don't tell me what to do. I know what I can do. And he's losing his mind, Hunter. And I'm like, I'm gone. And I get my van and this, you can just feel the tension, man. And it is like going, it's crazy. Anyway, I get back in my van and I drive away and all because I just drove by and I didn't stop and I didn't see a car.
Well, hopefully you learned your lesson and you're not going to drive by anymore.
The other ones are...
How mad were you?
Me, when I left, extremely mad.
You know, from what I get of the story, you've stayed cool in the moment, but a Jared King of a couple years before, there probably would have been a different story.
Well, and not only that, I am 4.5 hours away from anybody that I know. So, there's just so much goes through your head. Of course, you get older. Hopefully you get wiser. I was so mad.
Still working on that.
But yeah, it was interesting. It was an intense situation. And I really wasn't sure. At some point, I thought he was going to come at me from where he was pacing back and forth. Because the word belligerent is what comes to mind. I thought he was going to start coming after me.
Why do you think people act like that?
I don't really know. He's probably frustrated about his job. I mean, yeah. I don't know. He's frustrated about, I don't know. It's just where maybe his whole situation he's just frustrated about. And when I showed up, he'd been working. He just, I don't know. Maybe in a week it could have all been different. I don't know.
A couple hours maybe.
Could have. Yeah. I don't know. He just, something hit him wrong. I know this, that I try to think that I could give grace to people. Now, the stories that about my job that are nasty, there's some nasty stories about it. I don't even want to tell it on here. They are, I mean, just some of the things that people.
You ever caught someone stuck in the tub?
Yes.
How'd you
I actually got called out for that, and I told them that they had several times, and I said, maybe I'm too far away. You have to call the paramedics to get you out. And they'll go and destroy the tub. Can you imagine? Bless her heart. She's a 70-year-old lady stuck in a tub. She don't want me come getting her out of that tub. Yeah. I don't want to get her out of that tub.
Yeah. Well, you've been doing this a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
How does this compare? And this may be it. What's your favorite job? Or is this it?
What I say is
that you've ever had?
Favorite job. My favorite job was owning my own business. Well, bar none.
What made you leave that?
Circumstances. Just being at a different place in your life that you needed to do something different. When you get to a point, you're married, you got things going on, you see things differently, and
20-hour days,
a long time. I'm not that I don't work a lot now. It's just a different structure, and I'm kind of my own boss now too. I'm a contractor, so
the whole pressure of the business isn't on you now.
I don't get a job. Jobs get given to me. I don't sell it. I got a rate.
You're not out there mining for business.
I just negotiate my rates. That's right.
What's been your least favorite job?
My least favorite job was probably, I'm not going to tell the name of this either, but it was a company that we gathered supplies for banks. So like what? Envelopes, you probably don't even know about this.
No, I've never heard of this.
So we would,
you had to lick them?
Yes. So we had salesmen that would go out to smaller banks, right? They didn't have a warehouse. So we would negotiate buying all of their paper goods, which is a lot for a bank. Banks have a lot of paper goods, more used to than they do now. I'm talking 25 years ago. So they would go sell like 200,000 envelopes to them at this discounted rate and say, we will store this for you and I will come by at X amount of time, or when you need them, I will deliver them to you. I worked the warehouse and I did a lot of warehouse stuff and I did some delivery, but he's passed on now, but he saw things a certain way. He was a military guy, actually.
What branch?
I don't know. Okay.
Army.
So he saw things a certain way and he would come back, and I'll never forget this. This is when I quit. I'm standing at the loading dock.
I do remember this now.
I'm standing at the loading dock, and the guy and our delivery driver, he's just a trucker, 18-wheeler, whatever. He's backing up and I'm helping him back in. It's dead of winter. Stick my hands in my jacket and I'm, missing, and I'm pull my hand out and he walks up to me and says, get your hands out of your jacket. And I said, it's cold. He just goes off on me. You wouldn't last no time in the military. You don't know what it's like, and blah, 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 blah. To which, this is young me. I look at him and say, well, we're not in the military. I don't know if you've checked. We're not in the military. And I just, he's like, you need to do this. And of course I shut up because I shouldn't say anything to him. He's not a bad guy. He just, just had one of those things. But anyway, it was a struggle. That place was a struggle. And the coworkers, some of them were great, but most of them were just terrible.
Well, that's a big thing in the military. You can't put your hands in your pocket.
Well, I know that.
Well, you know now.
I do know that now. I haven't put my hands in. To this day, I haven't put my hands in my pockets.
I did see that. I think they overturned that in the Air Force, maybe all branches, but that's not how we did it back in my day.
Well, I mean, I get that. Actually, I do get that now. And I've been told that several times when I tell that story. But I can't reiterate enough how much I wasn't in the military.
Yeah. Never swore in.
Hey,
didn't sign up for this.
Thank you, veterans. Thank you, active military. I'm pro our forces. I'm pro it all. Okay, I'm pro all of that. I'm not. I have nothing against it. I just had a bad experience with him.
With the one vet.
With the one vet. I've employed vets.
Yeah.
I just want to say that.
Yeah, a few. Speaking of former employees, what do you think old Uncle Tractor's up to?
Uncle Tractor, I talked to him not long ago.
No way.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a cell phone, does he? Did you send him a letter?
I sent him by carrier pigeon. I sent him a message. He still wants his children to be named Shotgun and Rattlesnake. He still wants that to happen. No, it's been actually a while since I talked to him, but I've talked to his dad a couple of times, and he's doing good.
It's a good guy. Put my knee back in for me once.
That's inside.
That's who we need on this podcast.
That's inside, but that's so good.
That's that might be a extended bonus clip that.
Oh, yeah. That's under the season of You Had to Be There.
Oh. Well, I kind of want to go into one of these Had to Be Theirs right now.
Okay, let's do it.
We've got a ton of memories, and like you said, goes through all ages and eras of our we basically grew up together.
Sure.
I mean, what is your favorite memory of us together?
Listen, there's several actually.
What came to mind first?
The first thing that came to mind is what you did to me and going to a function. I don't even know how old I was.
Yeah, this was the one I was hoping you'd say.
Yeah, of course. How could it not be this one? How old was I? Okay, let me think. How many years out of high school was I? What year was this?
This was 2007.
3 years out of high school.
Okay.
Which isn't a lot,
but it's
in retrospect.
You were 22.
If it was 3 years, I was at least 21. Because I graduated pretty early. But
was that a humble brag?
No, it was my age. It was my age. So I don't remember even what I was doing. But you asked me.
You were sitting at home.
Yeah, that's
and I pulled
guaranteed
said,
that's what was happening.
Get in the car.
That is what happened.
And then we got in your car.
Yes.
The red Mustang.
It was either the red or black one.
I think it was the red one.
It was probably the red Mustang. So, and you say, we're going to a party. Now, I would like to be very clear. I ask a few questions about this party. Who's going to be there? I don't really know. This guy's going to be here. And I think I knew him. I knew a couple of people that you said just because I knew them, because we're all, it's not like we live in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Right. So I say, okay, I'll go. And he's like, okay, great. So we get in the vehicle and we show up. When I say there is a multitude of people here, there's a pile of people at this party.
I mean, it's a average size house, maybe, upper middle class,
right?
Suburbs, whatever.
Yes.
There's probably 300 people.
It's just so many.
Every
people.
room in the house is full.
So many.
Basement, living room, the porch.
It's about this time of year.
Yeah, it was prom.
Yeah.
It was another school's post-prom party.
It was a post-prom high school party. Now, listen, if you don't even know people, you know a few people.
I didn't know anyone there.
Okay. Yeah.
I made everything up I said.
Yes, of course you did.
We just crashed a party.
We did. And listen, well, to your point, though, like when you're in high school, think about people that are 3 years younger than you.
Yeah, they're babies.
Right. Well, you don't even know them. You might know one or two people because you had a friend that is their brother or sister. And that's the situation I had. Like, I knew like two of these kids, they figured like kids to me. And like, I'm like, I just, it was the most awkward. And you are just, another unique, this is unique.
I enjoyed how awkward it was for you.
You did.
That was my whole goal.
And you knew a few people and you just loved the whole idea of taking me down that road.
Yep.
And hey,
I live in the awkward zone, man. Yeah, if it's uncomfortable for someone else, I'm giggling.
How long were we there?
Oh, I don't remember.
It wasn't terribly long.
It was longer than you wanted to be.
Well, immediately when we got there was about as many how long I wanted to be there.
And I wanted to like lose you. Like I wanted to.
Golly. I'd have been so mad.
Not like leave you, but yeah, I mean, you were my ride, but I wanted to lose you and you come up like, what are we doing?
Do you think I would have left you in that situation?
Oh, no, I don't know.
I don't think I would have. I would have wanted to.
Yeah. You weren't happy with me.
No,
but you were laughing.
I was. It was funny. Listen. I'll take a good joke. It can be funny.
No one else is appreciating this right now.
They're not, but it was great. That was good. The other things that I remember about if you wanted me to pin you down, I'll say what was the fun stuff. We used to work at a place.
Oh gosh,
called Gameware.
Nope, close, but
called Gameware is the biggest thing on the sign, and if the biggest words on the signs is the name of the business, and I stand by that.
Well, that's probably why they're not in business now.
Okay,
but it was actually Replays Gameware, new used video games, right. CDs, DVDs.
Right, and they had multiple locations.
Yeah, Tuscaloosa, 15th Street.
Yeah,
Hueytown, Alabama.
They sure did.
Pelham.
Yeah, they did. And visiting you there was a lot.
We had a lot of fun there.
We did have a lot of fun there.
Our good friend Brent, who may or may never hear this podcast.
Yes.
He doesn't do tech too much from what I understand, but he could have his own podcast about the Fight Club at Replays. They would shut this place down. We're talking about a busy, well, maybe not too busy, but you can see it from the road. You can see everything that goes on from the road into the store. They would shut it down and have Fight Club. And I mean, I'm talking about actual high school kids wrestling, fighting.
Think of the movie Fight Club.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it. So till he got knocked out and got a concussion and we had to tell the paramedics.
That was the first rule.
Yeah. This is normal. A bunch of shirtless dudes fighting each other.
I remember that job that you had there. That was a lot of fun. That was, and it's going back to the time where, and I'm almost too far removed from this now because this has been so long ago, where you just had that freedom and like there was nothing going on and you could just say, I can go do this. So I just went over there to hang out.
Yeah. I think I made $6.50 an hour there.
Wow.
Yep.
What? I don't even want to get into that, but it makes me, because I just think about things different now. There's no job that I would do for $6.50 an hour.
Yeah, I mean, maybe something like Little League umpire.
Okay,
no, I probably wouldn't do that.
There's nothing I would do for $6.50 an hour. The jobs that would require me to get paid so little, that here's what I would do. I would volunteer my time to do them. They're not beneath me.
Yeah.
I'm just have bigger aspirations than to say that I would go do that for $6.50 an hour.
Well, it just shows you how far we've come. Like, yeah. I mean, and I was stoked to get that job.
Oh, I did jobs for $6. I worked. Yeah. Okay. Let me preface all this. I'm not too good. I've worked for $6.50 an hour. I've done that.
I feel like that's what I'm working for now.
Me too. But I've done that, and I just say, I can't take my mind back to that.
Yeah.
Well, how much work you did for that, as a matter of fact?
Yeah, I didn't do too much there.
You know what? I remember you didn't do anything.
I learned a lot about business there.
Yeah.
How not to do business.
You learned that.
We're just going to leave it at that.
You could have learned that at the place I owned.
We'll talk. That's its own episode.
Anyway,
that was a good time. That's up there with my favorite jobs.
Oh man, it was a blast.
Yeah. Least favorite job. for me was the help desk at the Tuscaloosa VA.
Oh my
IT desk.
gosh.
Never again. Had a doctor, okay? A doctor call in. Couldn't reset his password. He was locked out. And he told me, well, you got to reset it now. I have a patient on the table with his heart or whatever, open heart surgery. I'm like, okay, go ahead, click forgot password and put in your new password. He couldn't come up with a new unique password. And I know that can be hard, but this man was a heart surgeon.
I know this can be hard.
If you can't do capital A, lowercase b, c, 1, 2, 3, exclamation, %.
Stop cutting on that man.
Yeah. You go, I don't know, go. I don't want to say somewhere and offend someone, but go to Lowe's or.
That's a good point.
I actually have a good friend that works at Lowe's and I'm really excited about him coming on. So I don't mean to.
No, that's great.
Put down Lowe's. I really like the stores.
Yeah, me too.
But
I frequent there.
This dude just needed to go home and watch Golden Girls.
You know what? Oh, do you find it fascinating? I know we're running along here, but
yeah, we're about to wrap up.
Do you find it fascinating though? I do. One of the things I find fascinating is the value we put on someone who is highly educated. Okay, and I mean, I do as well. I want, let me not gloss over this. I want my heart surgeon to be highly educated.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I want my general practitioner to be highly educated. I want anyone doing medical, whatever, for me to be highly educated. But the other part of that is this. I want you to have some sense.
Yeah. And, you know, in my roles throughout the years, I deal with a lot of PhDs, and we probably can't talk about that, but we'll come back to that one day.
You know, back to my job, I will say that's interesting. You know, you'd be amazed at how many houses that I go into that don't know how to drain their tub.
Yeah, I mean,
literally, it's just a lever like that you've done off. Your
so not even like unclog the drain.
No, I'm talking about like to lift up the drain handle to drain your tub. I didn't know that was there.
Oh, sometimes it's hard to see that when you get stuck in there.
Sometimes it's hard to see it's right in front of your face. But anyway, that's a whole nother ball of wax.
Well, I appreciate you doing this. And do you have any more questions?
Man, I'm sure that I will think of more later, but I am really excited, and I'm dying to see the episodes start to drop.
Yeah, well, you can find us on YouTube, and soon we're going to be on all the major
wherever you find Fide
yeah.
Podcast.
Yeah, wherever you find your favorite podcast, we're right there next to them.
Scroll down a little bit.
Well, that's it for the show. We're on the Camper Van Podcast Network. Take it away, Jared. That's where the song comes in.
Thanks.
See ya.